names on fair helldivers and valiant troopers defending humanity. This is no mere news broadcast, but something a little different. I have had it recommended to me to dabble in other game worlds, and thanks to the interdimensional wormhole provided by the Meridius Singularity, I have been able to do just that. Turns out, there are aliens on the other side, and they are not happy to see us. In this universe, hostile aliens do not take the form of the eternally overbred Terminates, the vile Automatons, or whatever the shiitake mushrooms the squids are supposed to be, but rather these little pink amorphous blobs of goo, hence the name. This is my first impressions and review video of From Glory to Goo. But don't let the title or the unassuming pink blobs fool you. Rest assured, they are very hostile, and they want you alive when they devour you. Fear sweetens the meat. Yeah, they just went from funny-looking to terrifying, didn't they? Did I mention there's a lot of them? As in, you'll mow down thousands, and millions more will follow them into the grave so long as they can tackle your democratic butt into it. The first thing I want to say is, sweet liberty. This game wants to be a Helldivers RTS incredibly badly, but visually it looks like an old-school Westwood game from the days of Command & Conquer, specifically Tiberian Sun. Combine that with the gameplay of They Are Billions, which in my capable paws turned into They Were Billions, and you've got yourself quite a tasty gameplay sandwich right there. But yes, when I say that this game desperately wants to be Helldivers, I do not exaggerate. There is a global perk system where you can unlock bonuses by completing maps, and you can take up to 3 of them with you in any combination you like from the laboratory, and the developer refers to them as stratagems. Are you starting to see what I'm implying here? Drop pods? We got them. Cyborgs? Tanks? Sentries in all the colors of the rainbow? Gatling fragmentation barrages? Hungry lasers? This game ticks every last box, and I could see myself playing this a great deal. The funniest part of all of this is that the lead developer has never once played Helldivers. And we're gonna have to fix that. Now, before we even get into the game proper, let's take a look at the requirements. This game is extremely comfy, and while I did not attempt to run it on my phone, I am fairly sure that it could be managed. Requiring at least an i5 6400 or AMD X8 FX 8300 and NVIDIA GTX 460 or AMD Radeon RX Vega 11 or heck, an integrated Intel Graphics 4600, you could run this game on a graphing calculator, and the system requirement should actually be written as such. Has an active power supply and is not currently on fire through any fault of your own. I have seen this game handle thousands of active enemies, all of whom are crying for my blood, and it still runs silky smooth. The listed 2 gigabytes of available space required is vastly in excess of what is actually needed. I think this game is like 300 megs or something. And to some, they might complain about the pixelated graphics, but this is not a limitation, in my humble opinion. That's a stylistic, artistic choice. So hush. The next thing to mention is that none of you, not a single person in my audience, have to take my word for any of this. There's a playable demo on Goo's Steam page, and really any developer that does this warrants an immediate full letter grade improvement. I have also met the developer, MillionMonkey, on his Discord channel, link in the description below, and he is a very nice guy who helped me out of a tight spot because I, in my infinite blinding blondness, decided to sprint into the testing branch right off the bat and slammed headlong into a game-breaking bug where I could not finish my first game. I can't even say whoops because I knew exactly what I was doing the entire time. I was just too excited over the idea of a new adventure, and I didn't really care about the consequences. So, not only did he end up fixing my problem, he released a hotfix to solve the problem completely the very next day. MillionMonkey is very dedicated to his craft, and despite the fact that his product is still in early access, he is taking his time and sculpting a work of art, like Michelangelo crafting his David. Before we get into gameplay proper, let's take a look at graphical options. I know that it's early access, but these are pretty sparse. There's the standard fare of windowed mode, full screen, borderless, etc. But I always play on windowed mode so that I can see what my masses of adoring fans are saying about me in my Discord feed, and there are some options for resolution as well, which are plentiful. You can even resize the window yourself to your own liking if none of these end up suiting you. Master and music volume are also present, but no sound effects slider, which does seem a little awkward, but that's okay. Not to mention edge scroll sensitivity, which said edge scroll cannot be turned off. There are also options to show damage numbers for you min-maxers out there, pausing on Alt-Tab for multitaskers, and streamer safe mode, which avoids copyright strikes on YouTube channels such as this one. MillionMonkey was actually kind enough to warn me to turn this on before starting my work so that I don't get into any kinds of trouble. But copyright laws are designed to overwhelmingly favor large corporations at the expense of individual artists, so not only am I not afraid, I have little respect for copyright law in general. Besides, when the music kicks into high gear during a goo attack wave and your eardrums have a precision orbital strike of 80 synthwave actions slamming into them, it's an audible treat that you simply cannot miss. MillionMonkey didn't have to go nearly this hard when designing this audioscape, but I am very glad that he did. To make one thing perfectly clear, I have this turned on not to avoid trouble or because I am afraid. It's that I feel that this audible treat is something that you must experience yourself rather than me presenting it to you. So go out and listen to it right now. Now, when I was writing this script out several weeks ago, a nit that I was going to pick at was the fact that I could not rebind my own hotkeys, or even really see what they were. But apparently I am not the only psychic in the Liberation Fleet because MillionMonkey implemented this on the sly without me even needing to say a word. However, the control scheme still does leave a few things to be desired. Selecting all units deserves its own key, upgrading buildings deserves its own key, turning buildings on and off, orbital strikes, ship pane, jump to captain, all of these deserve their own rewritable keys. I personally like coming up with hotkeys that make my lovely and amazing significant other take one look at them and just recoil in disgust. You should see my HUD and hotbar settings for Final Fantasy XIV sometime. That will just give another reason why the Ministry of Truth wants to see me dead. But I'll be honest, these are far from deal-breaking items and are more me doing my job as an internet personality and picking at nits. The default control scheme of the game only leaves a tiny little bit to be desired and functions perfectly well at doing what is required of it. Now, let's take a look at the gameplay itself. At the moment, From Glory to Goo is in early access, and not everything is finished. But I'll be honest, the last campaign that I actually completed in an RTS game was Brood War. A campaign is a lovely show, but I would rather just leap into skirmish or survival mode and make my own stories, please and thank you. I played the heck out of They Are Billions, but don't ask me what went on the campaign because I have no idea. At start, you'll have your choice of captain, which is a consistent hero unit leading your troops. Every captain is absolutely, wonderfully, utterly, and completely fluffing broken in their own amazing, unique ways. The Admiral is your stratagem hero that is all about boosting the firepower of the ship, increasing the combat ability of basic troops, and improving experience levels. The Roboticist can deploy androids that don't take up population, which is just as awesome as it sounds. And the Pyromaniac is delightfully unhinged.
I believe this is where I come in. Pot, you were gonna get away with this entire review without inviting me, where you told him about the fire, right? You told him about the Pyromaniac who does fire, the Pyromaniac who starts with the flamers, the Pyromaniac who has fire artillery trucks that launch napalm grenade barrages, the Pyromaniac with exploding landmines and against everything on fire. Did I mention all the glorious amounts of fire? Only there was an orbital napalm strike that said fire.
Call it a hunch, but I think Lady Alecto enjoys the Pyromaniac personally. The mutant generates a small team of their own expendable goo minions and boosts what are normally expendable melee units up with armor pierce and life drain to the point that they can easily become your mainline army. If you take casualties, that's totally fine. The mutant starting power, the Mark, can restore dead mutant units back to life, and dead human units into infested variants. This is no mere captain. This is the Night King. There are more, but I have not had the chance to play as them just yet, and the developer is always working and adding more. From what I have seen on the Test Build Patch Notes channel, he is producing new patches, fixes, and tweaks nearly every day. This is a labor of love and deserves proper respect and recognition. Heck, if none of these captains suit you, there is a special one given as reward for unlocking every other human captain, where you can pick and choose bonus and malice traits in a point-cost format. Between the existing captains and this choose-your-own-adventure build, there's enough variety here that whatever your preferred style of RTS play is, you can probably do it. Human wave approach with basic units, Admiral buffs their experience gain and their fire rate. Melee-centric like the Spartans at Thermopylae, Mutant has you covered. You just want to wander the map, murdering at will, using an ability spellcaster MOBA type? Allow me to introduce you to the Savant. You want to rush tech and have fancy units? The Physicist is going to be your best friend. You can probably even come up with new styles on the fly. This is a game that rewards creativity when it comes to achieving your goals and inflicting a genocide upon the goo. The next tab is where you select your ship, and there are a lot to choose from the humble SVF Samarkand to the absolutely ginormous SCSVX. These ships can do a lot for your efforts on the ground, such as scientific lab work, augmenting your industrial capacity, and my personal favorite, raining fire and death onto the hordes of goo chewing on the front door with a wide array of weaponry. Variety is the spice of death, and these starships do not disappoint. We have precision laser strikes, 120s, 380s, rocket volleys, Gatling strikes that follow a drawn area. Just to name a few, the ship could use sensor relay modules that momentarily reveal areas of the map with a ping, which is incredibly useful at revealing those awful goo blobbers that are sliming your walls just barely out of range. The next thing you'll notice from this screen is the laboratory, and that is where you unlock persistent bonuses that you can take with you from map to map, such as unit variants that you can unlock with goo biomass, one from winning maps. While potent and unique, these variants always come with a trade-off, such as the Ice Trooper, who does 3 damage per shot compared to its normal Trooper's 4, but his frigid projectiles inflict a slowing effect on struck targets, makes for quite good kiting. The mutant is especially fond of the Avenger variant, who swaps out their laser sword and shield for a 2-headed axe that could strike multiple clustered targets with greater damage, but loses some HP and armor. Considering their life train works on every unit struck by their attack under the mutant's employ, and he can just dust off the bodies of the slain and send them right back into the fray, the loss of durability doesn't worry him so much. When all of your enemies are slain, what more have you to fear? From this tab, you can also apply your choice of global perks, which are the stratagems that I mentioned a little bit ago. Really, this game plays an awful lot like what combat is like for Civ regulars, or at least what it's supposed to be, or so I'm told. You can unlock more of these for purchase as your fleet supply increases, which is really just a number denoting your highest score across all official maps, and purchase them using biomass once they are available. Some are really quite potent, such as coordinated fire, allowing your bunkers to station 6 units instead of 4, augmented reality, increasing the range of those units inside of the bunkers by an additional 50%, and soylent goo, awarding you resources for each goo kill. And trust me, you are going to be killing a lot of goo. There are more, but I like bunkering and walling my way to victory, and play properly, soylent goo can be a tremendous boon, so these are frequently the ones I take. Once you map, your captain, your landing site, your ship, and your stratagems are all locked in, it's time to hit planetfall. There are several resources that you're going to need to keep an eye on. Water and power are your maintenance resources, and without them, stuff is going to start turning off. You gain water by pumping it from grassy tiles, and power from solar panels, amongst other things. There's also effort, crystal ore, and isotopes. Effort is a numerical value placeholder towards the amount of manpower and industrial capacity that you currently have, required for literally every little thing that you do, which is why solid goo is such a good upgrade. There's also crystal, required for almost everything that you do, or required for more advanced constructions and units, and isotopes, required for endgame content. Crystals can be mined from these nice little patches here, and or from these little brown rocks over here. Isotopes are much more rare and require some exploration to find and research to exploit, but are necessary for the highest tier units, defenses, and ship modules. Not to mention, a late-game structure can bust them back down into energy in a pinch. It should also be mentioned that being able to create energy during an emergency is an ability that will likely mean the difference between saving your bot and the goo reducing you to a fine layer of mulch. Turrets take energy to fire, and during a goo wave, you're going to be firing a lot. If you run out of energy in the middle of a fight, that is likely going to mean your death unless you think of something very, very quickly. So if you think you have enough energy... No, you don't. Once you beat Planetfall, you'll be presented with a pretty simple gameplay loop. Explore, cleanse, expand, develop, and secure. Explore the realm, clean the goo away, expand your infrastructure, develop your industries, and secure your realm. The more soldiers you have, the better you can expand, but that takes resources to maintain them, so you'll need to exploit the territory, which is then vulnerable to attack, so you'll need to secure your realm. How do you do that? Train more soldiers, and so the cycle goes. At the same time, you'll also want to develop your ship with guns, manufacturing modules, sensor relays, drop pods, laboratories, the list goes on, which will take crystal, ore, and isotopes from the ground. But you'll also need to manage the ship's population and energy output. It will also periodically come under attack by the goo in orbit, which will disable its functions for a brief time. Neglecting your shipboard marines, which lets you win these fights, and thrusters, which lets you avoid these fights or diminish the severity of the fights that you can't avoid, could cost you the game and consign all of your followers to a certain ooly-gooly death. Why do I phrase it like that? Because the ship's might is potent, and losing access to its guns to help you deal with an especially vicious goo attack at the wrong time is often all that it's going to take to tip the scales back against you, and then you're going to be sent off connecting to God's Wi-Fi. St. Peter has the password. On the goo side, there are hoppers, the most basic goo form. Small, fragile, but numerous and annoying, and given enough time, they can break a building. They tend to be attracted by noise, so you'll encounter these things quite a lot during your early development when they can snipe a structure, all because you left 2.5 pixels not covered by your turret grid. Thrashers are a little more serious and form mainline infantry. This is the most common goo form by far, but still, they're nothing really worth worrying about. Goo lobbers are frequently responsible for the loss of many games, as they can lob gooey projectiles and bust down walls, while the rest of your defenses are trying desperately to keep the horde out. Seriously, fluff these guys. Fighters are a little more concerning. They have 10 times the health of a thrasher and can turn a whole squad of men into bags of shredded cheese. If one of these gets into your face in the early game, might as well GG now. Flappers are the single most infuriating enemy that I have ever had the displeasure of fighting. They exist for the sole purpose of crossing mountains and scrapping the hab complexes and solar panels that you swore were totally safe. Sometimes the only way that you become aware of their presence is because your power grid went down in the middle of a fight. You look back and you see just one of these little losers chewing on your HQ. Every time I see one of them crash to the ground as barbecue from a SAM site, I smile. As for the forces of humanity deployed to fight them, you have an extremely wide range from simple soldiers with laser rifles to mechs to aircraft to, quite literally, an Automaton collective factory strider that tears oncoming goo waves to shreds with its twin chin guns, which might rank among my favorite units. It's a lot more fun when these things are on my side. I can see why the mainframe likes them. The The object of the game is to expand and develop your base and your ship, refine your defenses, and survive the set time, after which you'll be given a score based on your combat performance, biomass per unit variant, and stratagem purchases, and your high score will be registered as fleet supply. However, you can rig up the game's length to be as long as you like, or even endless, where it will only end when you die, or you feel like you fought and built enough and can click the surrender button to cash in on your winnings. Until either of those two things happen, the goo will continue to attack more and more frequently, in greater numbers and with greater severity. There is no end to the enemies that you will face. There is no winning. There is only the fight for survival. Let's see how good you really are, Helldiver. So, the final verdict and letter grade. I have played quite a few of these They Are Billions clones, and can honestly say that this one might be the best and most feature complete, correcting many flaws and weaknesses of prior titles. The lone developer is extremely devoted, putting in work on his baby every day, and the future looks extremely bright for From Glory to Goo. I am willing to give this a bright and shiny A, and the Radio Angel's seal of approval will graduate to an A+ upon this game's development completion and graduation from the Early Access program. As it stands now, it is worth every penny of its 12 super American dollars and stands ready to provide endless hours of entertainment. I've already got about 100 hours logged, and I anticipate many, many more. I'm gonna close the video out now with some clips that I have recorded of my fight for survival on the Goo Planet with no further commentary. So this is your post-review hydration check. Grab a drink, settle in, and relax with some audible treats and goo blasting gameplay. Thank you for joining me on this review. This is hopefully the first of many side projects that I can do like this. I'm more than just a pretty face and a newscaster, you know. I am the symbol of democracy.
Destruction is all around us. We don't even realize our own decay. Making sure that no one can rise up against the limited horizon of the minds. I reject this road towards you that has befallen our body and souls. I will never put my head down to this age of peace and trophy. Only together can we fix what is wrong with this world and all of its people. The renaissance of humanity will come as long as we are unbroken.
Oh, I almost forgot to mention. With the release of Goo's 0.2 version, there's a new faction to play as.
The Automaton Collective. Savor your victory upon these super dorks and sleep well this night, for it shall be the last peaceful slumber you will ever know.
Rebellion is born against the tyranny of super